The world ends in mourn. In the course of this study, I revealed reasons that have the sign of the Son of Man in heaven in Matthew chapter 24, verse 30, the Lamb as that sign. But if the Lamb were to be the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, then there is a problem. Matthew chapter 24, KJV, verse 30. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. The problem is that mourn we read in verse 30. Matthew chapter 24, KJV, verse 30. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. The sign of the Son of Man appears in heaven. All the tribes of the earth, in seeing the sign, mourn. Mourn at what? A lamb? What is the meaning of mourn from the KJV Bible Dictionary? Mourn. To express grief or sorrow, to grieve, to be sorrowful, mourning, may be expressed by weeping or audible sounds, or by sobs, sighs, or inward silent grief. Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep, to wear the customary habit of sorrow. We mourn in black. Grieve for an hour, perhaps, then mourn a year. Mourn, to grieve, for to lament, but there is an ellipsis for the verb not being transitive. When we say we mourn a friend or a child, the real sense and complete phrase is we mourn for a friend or mourn for the loss of a friend. He mourned his rival's ill success. That is, he mourned for the rival's ill success. To utter in a sorrowful manner. In other words, mourn is not just a sorrow, grief, or lament, but that of a funeral type sorrow, used as that of the sorrow of someone who lost someone or something important in its life. Matthew chapter 24, KJV, verse 30. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Matthew chapter 24, KJV, verse 30. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. Notice, the mourn of all the tribes of the earth begins with the sight of the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and not at the sight of Jesus coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. I will explain this difference in another episode. The problem with the Lamb being the sign of the Son of Man in heaven is that how could a lamb, a sign, and seen by all the tribes of the earth, cause every single person on earth to show a funeral type sorrow at the sight of a lamb? It would already appear impossible that the sight of anything could cause every single person on earth to show the same distress. One single thing is seen in the skies, and that thing have every person on earth show the same distress, in this case a funeral type sorrow, or the worst of sorrows, which is mourn. It would be as if one were to have a picture of something, and to every single person on earth, in seeing that picture, cause everyone answer with the same distress, or disturbed in the same manner, which is impossible, because each one of us is different from each other. We all come from different experiences of life, both good and bad. What is disturbing? To see to someone is not disturbing for someone else. For example, if one watches only horror movies, that person may not find disturbing watching horror movies, but some other kind of movie. Someone else who does not watch horror movies would feel disturbed only at the idea of watching a horror movie. A doctor working in an emergency room may not find disturbing the pain and sufferings and deaths that occur in emergency rooms. Someone else that never saw such scenes or visited such places would be in shock. People living in a war-torn nation after a while adapt to life that would appear unthinkable to others. Soldiers fighting on a battlefield may not find disturbing dead bodies laying everywhere around. Someone living in a bad neighborhood under the control of drug lords in time adapts to living side by side with drug addicts, prostitutes, and bullets. In some places, if you don't adapt, you won't survive. People tend to adapt to all sorts of life and living. And if you don't adapt, you won't survive in whatever life you choose for yourself or is offered to you to live. Such a life could appear disturbing for many, to others not. What we read in Matthew chapter 24, verse 30, with that, Matthew chapter 24, KJV verse 30, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. Every single person on earth, from all walks of life, of whatever is their life, in mourn at the sight of something, disturbed at the sight of something, is impossible, unless it would be a life-threatening condition or the end of the world for everyone. Mourn is not just a sorrow, where one could be in sorrow for any reason, and could have any reason to sorrow, and could sorrow for minutes, an hour. And what follows, a sorrow, is a life back to usual, or almost usual, or even a complete change of life and better. Mourn is a sorrow that does not go away easily. It could go on for hours, days, months, or even years, and is a life-changing event in the life of that person, and not in better. People mourn for 3 reasons: the loss of someone very special, a husband in mourn for the loss of his wife, a wife in mourn for the loss of her husband, kids in mourn for the loss of their parents, parents in mourn for the loss of their kids. The loss of not a person but of something, a job, a house, property, a career opportunity, life savings. The loss of yourself, a life-threatening condition, or that of losing your life, a criminal conviction, a death penalty, diagnosed of something that gives you little time to live. What does this mean? That the Lamb is not the sign of the Son of Man in heaven? No. It means that the sign could be anything, because it's not that is causing all the tribes of the earth at its sight to mourn. It's not the sign. Something else is causing everyone to mourn. Something that Matthew chapter 24 verse 30 is not revealing. The cause of that mourn is not revealed in Matthew chapter 24 verse 30, but somewhere else. In another episode, I will reveal what is causing that mourn of all the tribes of the earth. And I can tell you for now that it is worse than the natural death. A popular preaching has that on the second coming of Jesus Christ, the world, all the tribes of the earth, in Matthew chapter 24, verse 30, and seeing Jesus coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory, would immediately accept Jesus in their heart and as their Savior through some inner revelation that will have everyone recognize that He coming in the clouds was Jesus Christ. All the tribes of the earth would sorrow because of not having believed in Jesus before. This is mostly false. Why? We do not read Matthew chapter 24, KJV, verse 30. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth sorrow. But, verse 30, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. The sorrow of all the tribes of the earth could be I'm sorry, please forgive me for having not believed. The mourn of all the tribes of the earth is please, I don't want to die, or please don't kill me. Yes, all the tribes of the earth will recognize that he coming in the clouds as Jesus. But with that their mourn, we read in Matthew chapter 24, verse 30, is the end of their world and themselves. That mourn of all the tribes of the earth, in Matthew chapter 24, verse 30, is a death penalty. But is the Lamb, with that mourn, still the sign of the Son of Man in heaven? Yes, it is. In next episode. Thank you.